Our ninth speaker is Curtis Von Kruger. Speaker number 9, Curtis Von Kruger.
A 2006 study by the Centers for Disease Control discovered that a drunk driver will get behind the wheel more than 80 times before their first arrest or accident. 80 times. In the spring of 2004, I became one of these statistics. After a late night of drinking, I chose to get behind the wheel of my vehicle. But as a result, I lost control and smashed into a cement wall. The passenger and I were lucky to escape with our lives. That event would begin a downward spiral that would send me to rehab no more than 2 months later, trying to put the pieces together. You see, I'm an alcoholic. And part of my mandatory recovery was that I was to attend AA meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous. At first, I was skeptical, cynical, didn't want to hear anything they had to say. But it was at these meetings that I began to meet a network of people who understood my addiction, who had walked my path. It was these people that began to provide me with a roadmap to my very own recovery. They gave me the tools I needed to navigate that path. One of the popular tools they commonly use is a famous verse by Reinhold Niebuhr. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the strength to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This verse implores us to understand the difference between what we can and cannot change. I couldn't change being an alcoholic. But what I could change were my daily choices. You know, as I began to attend more meetings, I started to notice a common theme with every person who had maintained a long recovery. Recovery wasn't something that just happened. Recovery was a daily choice. Something that I had to do every morning when I woke up. I remember one particular meeting. There's an opportunity during each AA meeting where somebody can stand up and give their testimony. During this particular meeting, a gentleman by the name of Tom, we didn't know his last name, stood up and began to describe a story of heartache and sadness and loss and failure. But it didn't end there. As he was summarizing this story, he puffed up with pride and excitement to announce 20 years of sobriety. 20 years. I couldn't imagine being sober 20 days. How was I going to get to 20 years? After he was done with his beautiful testimony, I felt compelled to introduce myself. I wanted to figure out what his secret was. The answer he would give me would floor me and forever change me. I said, Tom, how did you do it? And he kind of chuckled, and with a little southern drawl, he said, well, Curtis, every morning I need to make a decision. I know I have another drunk in me, but I don't know if I have another recovery. I was floored. I was shocked. This man, who had been sober for 20 years, had to make an everyday choice to be sober. I knew that from that day forward, that each choice I made every morning would have to be the same. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the strength to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'll leave you with one final statistic. 2,663. That's how many choices I've made since my last drink. 2,663 days. Now, I can't predict the future, but I know that as long as I remember what I can control, and I remember the things that I can change, that I have many more in front of me.